Thank you, Rob. Good morning, all. Welcome to our council meeting of October 24th. Welcome to all those here and online. Please join me in singing "O Canada," please.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, would you take the roll call, please?
Councillor Mackey,
Present.
Councillor McKay, Councillor Carlton, Councillor Pringle, Councillor McQueen, Councillor Nielsen, Councillor Patterson, Councillor Deckert, Councillor Kentner, Councillor Keaveney, Councillor Body, Councillor Gregg, Warden Milne,
Present.
Councillor Dobreen, Councillor Matrosovs, Councillor Borneo,
Present.
Councillor Eccles, Councillor Hutchinson. We have all members in attendance today.
Thank you, Tara. Before we begin, I want to respectfully acknowledge that we are gathering on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe Nation. The people of the Three Fires, known as Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi nations. And further, we give thanks to the Chippewas of Saugeen and the Chippewas of Nawash, known collectively as the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, the traditional keepers of these lands and waters since time immemorial. To our south lies the traditional territories of the Six Nations of the Grand River and the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. We are dedicated to honoring Indigenous history and culture and committed to moving forward in the spirit of truth, reconciliation, and friendship with all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people. Is there any declaration of interest related to any matter on today's council agenda? Not seeing any. If one should arise, you can declare it at that time. We have some sets of minutes here from October 10th. We have the County Council and Committee of the Whole minutes. So, someone care to move receiving of those minutes? Councillor Mackey and McKay. I got it right. I could not get that wrong. Well, maybe I could, but I didn't so far. Any discussion on those minutes? All those in favor? That is carried. Also, we have the closed meeting minutes of the October 10th Council and Committee of the Whole meeting. Someone care to move? Councillor Hutchison, Councillor Matrosovs, thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. We have no closed meeting matters related to minutes. We have reports, one from the Grey Bruce Public Health Unit. Dr. Era is still away on leave. Chair Patterson or Chair Carlton, would you like to speak to those? Excellent. Chair Patterson, Councillor Patterson will move those minutes. Councillor Eccles will second them, and Councillor Carlton is going to speak to them. I'll get that right yet.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I would just report that Dr. Era is off on his paternity leave and won't be back until the end of November, but he has been there helping throughout. He'll be there at tomorrow's board meeting. The probably biggest event recently has been the opening of the dental clinic in Walkerton, and that's been quite an accomplishment, and it is a beautiful place. If anybody gets to go and see that. It's really great to see that the health unit has managed to work forward to get that dental clinic in place for the residents of the area. So
Thank you, Sue. Are there any questions related to those minutes? Not seeing it. I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. We have the bylaw to confirm all actions and proceedings of the council. Some Councillor Dickert, second by Councillor DeBreen. Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. News and celebrations. Councillor Body, please.
Got this on. I'll maybe stand for this. I'm wearing a pin today that recognizes the oh, I just switched it. No, I didn't. National Indigenous Veterans Day, which is November 8th. So a little bit different than our the regular Memorial Day or Veterans Day, Remembrance Day on November 11th. We will have a celebration or a something going on down at the Gitchiname Wickwidong Gardens at Kelso Nawash Park. I'll get you to look at the pin when we take a break because it's pretty special. It's given to me by Chief Smith from Nawash Shingaming. I was just telling Kim the story. A couple of years ago, I was at an opening, something that former Chief Wilmer Nadjuan was on, who's now deceased, an elder. Did a lot of national stuff. He told this story of going off as a young man representing Canada proudly in the Second World War, coming home with his uniform on proudly, and his father proudly taking him to one of the hotels up in Wyerton. His son, having come home, represented his country in his uniform, and they got thrown out for being Indian. So a special day to recognize the veterans that from the Indigenous communities that went across and represented our country is a good thing and a reason to look at it, maybe not only as part of November 11th, but on the 8th as well. So I wear this pin. I hope somebody can have a look at it. I guess that's news. It's not necessarily a celebration, but I think it's part of our heritage that we all need to know. Thanks.
Thank you, Ian, for that. And indeed, that is part of reconciliation, is learning the stories and understanding. Councillor Keaveney.
Thank you, Mr. Warden, and good morning, everyone. And as always, there's a lot going on to talk about in Meaford. So I'll start with Saturday. And there will be a haunted candy route. Houses have registered to be on a map, so people can go on and see where to go, where all the decorations are. And 26 downtown businesses will be giving out candy. And there's also a haunted harbor. Our pavilion at the harbor is all decorated for Halloween. Also on Saturday is a new event from Meaford called FanCon. And this is at the community center, and it's a day filled with fun and adventure for fans of anime, comics, video games, fantasy, and much more. And costumes are preferred for that event. On the 1st of November, we're really excited that our newly renovated fire hall is about to open as a restaurant run by John Garby. So it's going to be one of his chain, and it's going to be pretty fantastic. So if you have a chance, come see what's been done with our old fire hall. The 3rd of November, many of you will know Councillor Harley Greenfield in Meaford, and he's written another play. It's entitled 150 Years and 125 Minutes, a celebration of our sesquicentennial. Begins on the first day of council in Meaford, January the 11th, 1875, and runs till amalgamation. So it's all local actors and our own Golden Heirs Ladies Choir in that one. And lastly, on Thursday, November the 7th, this is the 16th annual Meaford Dragons event. So our own Dragons Den with 5 dragons and 5 contestants on stage vying for over $10,000 in prizes. Tickets can be purchased at Meaford Hall, and this is pretty special because over the years, over $300,000 has been invested in entrepreneurs in Meaford, and many of these businesses are still very successful in our community. So Dragons Den, November the 7th. Thank you.
Thank you, Shirley. Is there a height or age limit before you can go and get candy? Excellent, excellent. Councillor Patterson, please.
Thank you, Warden. Good morning, County Council. I want to thank the warden for attending and speaking at 2 events in Hanover last week. The first event was the Mayor's Breakfast, focusing on innovative work cultures, a panel discussion with representatives from local employers, and Deepika from Grey Bruce Local Immigration shared their individual strategies on how to retain and recruit employees. I also want to thank Savannah for attending the breakfast. It is great to have county representation supporting and raising the profile of the event. The second event was the Camp Molly event. Camp Molly is a not-for-profit organization that inspires young women aged 15 to 18 years of age to consider a potential career in fire service. 25 young women from across the region and beyond participated in this 4-day training program, actively learning aspects of fire service, such as fire suppression, prevention and investigation, auto extrication, medical communications, and public education. Warden Millen, our MP, and MPP, Camp Molly representatives and fire department members, along with many, many proud family members, were in attendance to congratulate the 25 graduates. It was pretty special. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. And indeed, both events were very good. I enjoyed, and thank you very much for the invitation to attend. They were awesome. There was food at both. I'm just saying. Councillor Nielsen.
Thank you very much, Warden Milne. I said I'm excited to be here this morning, and I just wanted to share some of the experience I had this past weekend at the Healthy Democracy Forum in Toronto, put on by AMO. It was just a moment to actually get excited again about being in municipal politics. We get a lot of negative comments put our way. Staff get a lot of negative comments. We get attacked. Specific minority groups get attacked differently and pressured and pushed out or separated from everybody else because of ethnic background, gender, whatever the case may be. This past weekend, we had municipal leaders, campaign school groups, or campaign school organizations like Electeur, Nominee, and others. We had local media, we had AMCTO members and clerk members gather together to discuss how do we try to steer that ship and correct that statement that we're the way we are now. It was inspiring, invigorating. It filled me with pride to be able to sit at this table with everybody who's sitting here with us. It was an opportunity to discuss concepts and ideas about changing how we run elections, how we engage others. One of the best statements I heard was the idea of how do we humanize municipal leaders again. Currently, there's this feeling from the public that we are there. I don't want to use the word slave, but it feels like it sometimes when it's like 24/7, we are theirs, right? But we are people who have run because we have a passion and a pride of our hometowns and an excitement and a will to want to improve and make it as best as we can together as a community. That was an invigorating comment about how do we humanize the municipal table again. One of the saddest statements I heard is that at times groups like Electeur or Nominee, or there's a Guelph campaign school, feel like they're sending lambs to the slaughter because they are encouraging women to run, gay people to run, homosexuals to run, different ethnic diversities to run, knowing that we are setting them up to be attacked and pushed out. We have had great conversations at AMO's, the last 2, where we had members from the municipal world stand up and cry out to the province for help and protection in this space. It was just a awe-inspiring weekend, and I wanted to share that experience here, and just the pride of place. Speaking of pride of place, this morning I was going to get hay from my wonderful hay provider for my horses, and I was listening to the CBC radio, and Roger Munking was on there. Segue, hear that, Warden? That was a pretty good segue. Speaking about the Gather campaign, and a large part of that Gather campaign was about the pride of place and sharing that pride with others around us. And he spoke about the significant contributions our agricultural society or agricultural space has to Grey County, be it all the wonderful produce and meats and animals that we raise in this area to provide food, and how, as a chef's point of view, where else would you want to be when all your ingredients are at your fingertips here? He mentioned driving down the road and you can see place after place after place to grab fresh eggs, fresh duck eggs, whatever you need. So it was great to hear that campaign. I want to congratulate Savannah working with Roger in this Gather campaign. I think it is going to be a fantastic thing. And I will end my speech there. Thanks, Warden.
Thank you, Dane. And it's pretty clear to me, and I'm sure everyone else, that you have a very strong passion for municipal work, and we thank you for that. Anyone else? Councillor Eccles.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. And a couple of things that are happening this weekend in West Grey, next weekend. Newstead Fabulous Fall Craft Show is on Saturday, November the 2nd, I believe it is. And following that in Newstead, if you are desirous of finding some homemade sauerkraut, being of German heritage, Newstead, after the craft show, the Newstead Lions put on their famous pork and kraut dinner, and they do make enough kraut to have a little bit available for purchase if anybody was willing or in need of some of that fresh produce. The Lions Club usually is somewhere between 1,000 to 1,200 cabbages that they process into sauerkraut. So there will be a few pounds available, but be there early because it does sell out quickly. And and for that dinner, there's only pre-sale tickets. So that's giving you a little bit of a heads up. Get there early for one of the most fabulous things you'll see in Newstead throughout the year. Thank you. And yeah.
Excellent. Thank you, Kevin. And I should have looked down at my notes here in segue to Councillor Nielsen's remarks. This is, of course, Local Government Week. As the level of government closest to the people, municipalities are tasked with providing many services and programs that we all use on a daily basis. They are a critical element of our government system, and thank you to all elected officials, staff, volunteers who work every day for the betterment of our communities. And I think that fits very nicely with your remarks, Councillor Nielsen. Also, sorry, but I'll just finish this while I'm at it here. So this is ECE Appreciation Day, October 24th. ECEs play a vital role in the well-being of our community, providing children with a safe and nurturing place to learn and grow. They help shape futures, and their impact on the community cannot be overstated. Thank you to all the ECEs throughout Grey County, the early learning and childcare staff, for your dedication. Indeed, Grey County supports 450 approximately licensed childcare early on and special needs resourcing, excuse me. And this Saturday at Grey Roots, the county is hosting a brunch, and surprisingly enough, they've invited the warden to participate in the brunch, which I'm okay with. But recognition of the hard work the EC and childcare workers do in our communities and the important role they play in the lives of children and their families. And I cannot say enough that I appreciate all they do, because indeed I have a granddaughter that's participating in the childcare center in Holston, the Early On Center. So thank you again to all of those that are participating in that. Councillor DeBreen, I apologize. I saw your hand up. Go ahead, please.
No problem at all, Warden. Good morning, and good morning, County Council. I have a couple of things that are coming down the pipe, but I too want to echo Councillor Nielsen's comments about the Healthy Democracy Forum this weekend. It was exhilarating and exhausting. It was emotional, and
inspiring. So we'll just echo his comments. I did want to mention that this weekend on Saturday between 1 and 2, the little trick-or-treaters will be out in downtown Dundalk, visiting all of the businesses that are participating. From 1 to 2 on Saturday, the 26th, and upcoming Holstein Drama Group is putting on Steel Magnolias at the Optimist Center in Holstein. Tickets are on sale now. The dates are November 8, 9, 15, and 16 at 7 p.m. and matinees on November 10th and 17th. So hope to see some of you out there.
Thank you, Barb. Anyone else? Okay, thank you very much. I think Savannah, did you have an item related to Grey Roots? Sure.
Good morning, County Council. Thank you so much. Just a reminder, last council meeting, we spoke about the fundraising gala coming up on November 8th. So tickets are still available, and encouraging everybody to come out and join us for a wonderful night with excellent food, excellent guests, and just something that we're really looking forward to. So we just wanted to do a little reminder for you about the gala on November 8th.
Thank you, Savannah, and I'm looking forward to that event. Okay, motion to adjourn would be in order. Councillor McQueen, Councillor Nielsen, all those in favor? That is carried. So we'll just take a minute to switch over to Committee of the Whole. Thank you, Rob. I'll call the meeting to order this morning, October 24th, our Committee of the Whole meeting. Is there any declaration of interest related to any item on the Committee of the Whole agenda? Not seeing one. If one should arise, of course, you can declare it at any time. Business arising from minutes. We have a notice of motion from Councillor Gregg. We need to, is it on the screen or do we need to read it? Councillor Gregg, I presume you'd like to move that notice of motion. Thank you. Is there a seconder? There it is up on the screen. Councillor Eccles will second it. Okay, Councillor Gregg, you wish to speak to it, please.
Thank you, Warden, and I will just quickly read it verbally. Whereas there is opportunity in the Municipal Act for a local municipality to appoint one of its members as an alternate member of the Upper Tier Council if municipal requirement exists under Section 268, subsection 1. And whereas the electronic participation enhances the ability of councillors to attend virtually, now therefore be it resolved that Grey County remove the per diem funding from the 2025 budget for temporary replacements who have been appointed under Section 268 of the Municipal Act. I won't speak at great length on this because it's not like it's an $800,000 line item in the budget. However, it is still an expense item. It gets its own budget line, and over a term of council, it would equate to nearly $20,000 of taxpayer dollars. So if we are demonstrating that every dollar matters, I think this is a relevant conversation. As the motion explains, virtual attendance now opens up a wealth of opportunities for sitting members who are paid salary to be county councillors to be able to attend meetings remotely and therefore reducing the exposure of seats being empty or not filled. That's an opportunity that didn't perhaps exist to the same degree 10, 15 years ago, and we've certainly seen it change with COVID. When we sit here, have an expectation of being familiar with a breadth of historical and current county documents, everything from prior master plans to current strategic plans, and the type of documentation that's needed to inform the best decisions moving forward is very difficult just to be able to step in an ad hoc function. And I would say we do not send temporary designates to our local committees, to local fire boards, or to your arena board of management, or if you sat on a church board of elders, you don't use substitutes. Yet we have a policy here where we put a substitute in place for a board with a 23 budget of approximately $225 million, and I think north of $265 million in 2024. You would not see the same done if you were a board member at Unilever, at PepsiCo, at GM, at Royal Bank. So what we're doing here, while it's a small line item, I don't think it is a necessary line item. Where the instance has occurred, essentially what's occurring is that seat's being paid for twice by the taxpayer as it is. There's that per diem funding that goes to the temporary designate, and there has to be extensive vacants or absences before remuneration would be removed from a sitting councillor. So I don't think it's in the best interest of the taxpayer to be potentially paying a second time for some meetings. There are instances which individuals could refer to where that participation is critical. But I would note that we are here with a commitment to do what is best for the county. And if ever an item existed, councillors have the virtual option to attend, to participate. And with the mutual respect and consideration of our peers, the ability to postpone a contentious item. We shouldn't put ourselves in a position where we are so fixated on protecting the lower tier because it's not the mandate of which we're charged to execute here. It's what's best for the county. So that's the rationale to it. Like I say, it's not a huge line item, but I think it is a line item that should be discussed by all of council, hence introducing it here and not doing it at the budget committee so that there can be commentary. But I think technology allows us the opportunity currently to join virtually and participate in manners that didn't occur in the past, and in the best interest of the taxpayer, we remove that secondary funding for the seats from the 2025 budget. And I would remind council, if the occasion ever occurs, and it has occurred in Grey County before, where long-term illness or similar instances occur to a sitting member, the lower tier municipality has the ability under the Municipal Act to designate a new representative to county council. So that's still, that's the option that exists and protects the lower tiers at this table. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Any discussion, questions? Councillor McQueen.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Just some points I'd like to raise is I have no idea how this affected our 2023 budget. I don't think it's overly abused. And I don't say that as it being abused. It's there as a tool to allow representatives for those that can't represent here. Certainly we have a county hat, and I hope to come back to that, get that answer. I don't know if we're able to get that, what 2023 cost on that line item. Is that something we can get? I mean, the other option would be is to ask for a report to come back on what that would be. This is here today, but saying that, certainly, yeah, we wear a county hat, but we are a representative of those municipalities, the lower tier. And sometimes there are recorded votes that are necessary, and sometimes it's important to have people in the seats. Certainly, I will agree that electronic format that came out of COVID has allowed participants to attend if they're not physically allowed to be here. But there are times where you could be, in circumstances that you can't be here or you can't participate. And I don't think it has been overly a situation that I think from Grey Highlands, I think maybe our representative has been willing to be here twice. I know I've missed 2 meetings. I'm not sure my deputy mayor, but I don't think it's a tool that is there to bring those representation from the lower tier. And but I guess going back to you, Mr. Warden, do we have that number of what that effect was in 2023?
When she finds it. Any other discussion? Councillor DeBreen.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Warden, my apologies. I suppose to Councillor McQueen's question, I was curious as to what we would have spent of that budget, and $20,000 over 4 years over a term is not significant in the grand scheme of things. The importance of, as Councillor McQueen indicated, of when there is a recorded vote and it's weighted or I suppose I would like to understand the process if we do not have appointed alternates. What the process would be and how long it would take to appoint an acting representative at the county should a medical leave of absence, a paternity leave, a maternity leave, all of those things that are permitted under the act were to occur. So in experience, Southgate did have a long-term leave of absence and we were able to appoint, but the time it takes to do so. What we're proposing here is to eliminate the per diem, which means we're eliminating the alternate. I'm assuming, because there's no point in having one if they're not going to be compensated for being here. So those would be my questions. I echo the question about how much is it really in the grand scheme of things. And if this were to pass, I would suggest that it be that we consider removing the per diem through the budget process so that further reports may come back.
Thank you, Councillor DeBreen. So the total in 2023 was $2,871. The total for the last 4 years is $9,338. Sure. Tara, you want it? Tara's going to provide some context and background on this issue.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Through you, I'd just like to provide some kind of a high level overview that may help address some of your questions there. So the Municipal Act is the piece of legislation that gives the ability to appoint alternates. It's not a Grey County specific policy. It is provincial legislation that was brought into effect. So it does give the option for a local municipality to appoint one of its members as an alternate member of the upper tier council when a member is unable to attend a meeting for any reason. The appointment of alternates does rest solely at the municipal local table, and we facilitate their attendance at Grey County when requested by yourselves as the mayors and deputy mayors when your alternate is to attend county council. So there's no ability per se that I'm aware of where Grey County could veto those individual bylaws or resolutions. That decision rests with your local council tables to appoint alternates each term. So I believe the intention of Councillor Gregg's motion is specific to alternates attending on a per meeting basis as opposed to those who are stepping in for a longer period of time. So I believe that would just be a case of passing a resolution or a bylaw appointing someone to attend the upper tier meeting during an extended absence. So would depend on your kind of council schedules at the local municipal level. I would also just like to note as well that we do have at Grey County an alternate council member policy, and that's what provides for compensation to alternates. So if council would like to remove the funding of payment to alternates attending on a temporary per meeting basis, a change to that policy would be required to actually remove that from the policy. So an amendment, I would recommend an amendment be put forward to facilitate that if that's your wish.
Thank you, Tara. Barb, or Councillor DeBreen, sorry.
There's her. Thank you, Warden. Just to follow up to that then, oftentimes an extended medical leave of absence isn't known how long that leave may be. And so you're in limbo at the lower tier and at the seat here until such time as that end date is known. So if you're waiting to appoint that individual, business is being conducted and it carries on. I'm concerned that not having the option available to us, and certainly they deserve to be compensated if we do have. I guess my question is that it's up to the lower tier as to whether or not they want to appoint an alternate. They don't have to, and therefore the option is still there for other municipalities that do. I don't, $9,338 in the last 4 years. So that's 2 years plus the previous term of council. And yes, we have the ability to participate, but if you're really sick or, you've got grandchildren or children that or parents that we're watching, we should be focused on that and having someone to fill in and who is prepared to follow county council business. Our alternate is reading agendas and is trying to stay informed. So I think it's only fair that they be compensated.
Thank you. And to be clear, the resolution speaks about taking away the pay. We as county do not have the ability to prohibit alternates from attending because that's up to the lower tier and it's provided for through legislation. So this, if I'm interpreting Councillor Gregg's motion correctly, it's solely about this body paying those alternates. There's no reason why a lower tier couldn't pay the per diem. If they felt strongly about it. Yes, absolutely, please.
And just clarification, thank you to Councillor Gregg. The intention of your motion is that any extended alternate attendance for health reasons would still continue on as normal, but it's only those individual kind of temporary per meeting basis that the motion is intended for. Very good, thank you.
Councillor Body, please.
Thank you, Warden Milne. I had some questions, but our clerk, Ms. Warder has really answered them. It is just eliminating the money. So there is nothing that stops us from having our designated person coming. Potentially we could buck up out of our own pockets for our own replacement. And I think that's sort of where Scott is going. I can remember, I remember, I think it was Norm Jack was a deputy mayor, 2014, 2018 that became ill. And that was an example, or the example probably of replacing him. And there's a system that works if that happens. A lot of this, I think, comes back to be very blunt. There was a rumor spread or a statement made by a former member of this council that talked about specifically on sound using weighted votes to get something through. And the vote in particular he's talking about was 11-7. So all the weighted vote in the world didn't make a difference. What have we had? 4, 5 weighted votes this term in 2 years? We had even those? That tends to be why we're worried about having somebody sitting in the seat. If there's a weighted vote called or a recorded vote called, that we want to have somebody there to make sure that that it counts. But we don't do it that often. Even when we have, I don't remember, and there might be one maybe in 10 years that I've been kicking around here, where the weighted vote changed what the straight up vote did. It might have been one that it moved it a little bit, but otherwise that seemed to be the concern of why we want to have an extra person. And so I'm not sure that we need them. Again, with this motion, all we're doing is eliminating $10,000 over 4 years. But we're not eliminating the position. We're not eliminating somebody coming and think of Jim McManaman coming back from Toronto as a fireman to come to a council meeting in Owen Sound and having to pay another captain to come in and take his role for him in Toronto, and he had to take it out of his pocket and did. And we could always do that, or look at the lower tier of paying it. So I'm probably looking a little bit like a circus freak that I've got 2 heads at the moment on this, and could go either way.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments? Councillor Kentner, and then Mattress House.
Thank you, Warden. I'd like to just look at the whole thing through a little different lens. This is Local Government Week, and I think we need to really think about the fact about how poorly understood the 2-tier system is in our local system and amongst ratepayers. I remind you that I was here for 5 months as a counselor in Meaford during the long-term absence of Mayor Clumpus. And it was like a window on this, level of government that was very, very helpful and prepared me in many ways for what I'm doing now. And I think that the most important aspect of the delegate system is the focus that it puts among first tier representatives on the upper tier and what it does. So I think that for the money being saved here, I don't want to discourage anybody. It's too bad there aren't more people out behind us here really focused on what we're doing because it is so critically important. So that's my input. Thank you.
Thank you, Ross. Councillor Mattress, please.
Thank you. Through you, the chair, I appreciate the extra information that's come from the clerk in terms of the municipal act actually allowing the decision of an alternate to be the lower tier. So my question through the chair is then, so if that is the will of the lower tier, and this is actually a motion that's concerned about the compensation coming from the county, what about the training, the mandatory training that the alternates needed to go through? Because that was done through the county to make sure that they were fully aware of their role and responsibility when they're here. So then you would, if we remove compensation, we'd be expecting our lower tiers to pay for that training, but still come up here for the training because they couldn't do the training down at the lower tier. They need to have the training at the upper tier where they're going to fit the role.
Good question. Councillor Gray.
And I think the tenor of the motion in removing the funding is really removing the temporary replacements from desiring it and freeing up the staff resources ultimately, which are expended on that. Because, at the end of the day, I'm measuring the value added to the corporation, and I assess the amount of time and resources that go into it. And I measure that against someone that maybe joins virtually and says present. And I assess whether that's good value for money. Did we realize any real benefit from the policy that's in place and the funds that are expended on it, whether it's $1,000, $10,000, or $100,000? There's always those resources that can be redeployed in different ways. But ultimately, if you remove the funding, you're likely removing the temporary, unless the lower tier municipalities make a commitment on an ad hoc, one-off basis at times that they're, they really believe that they want to make sure that someone's in that chair and that it never sits vacant. But for the amount of times it sits vacant, I don't see that it's a significant concern to the lower tiers.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments? Councillor. Chair, I'd like to clarify something about the training. Please.
Just to respond to your question, Councillor Matrosovs, if we were to look at training with alternates next term, I think I would suggest, instead of doing the kind of mass training that we did at the beginning of the last term, look at anyone who's attending to do that on a case-by-case basis. So we would still work to familiarize them with the county structure and the agenda, but on an as-needed basis, I guess, as opposed to a mass training each time.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor McQueen, you had a comment?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Ward. Good conversation. 3 points, I think, from the policies I recall, remembering of it, we pick one representative, but I don't think we can pick another one. I think we're sort of governed to pick that one, that alternate person. But maybe that alternate person is somebody who's interested in county council, who has a desire or wants to follow up or is following up. So I think that's a mechanism in itself, that somebody who is keen. I don't think you would want to appoint somebody that wasn't keen, and they'll tell you. I know in our choosing, we had an individual that had interest in it, but then changed his mind, and another individual for the same board, and has been very, and I know times I've missed have been here personally. The other part is health. So yes, we can, if an individual is not feeling well or has issues, knows that there's no alternate, may force themselves to be here either in person or in Zoom to try to, because I think all of us around the table we're here for a reason. We're here to represent the county of Grey and the municipality that puts us here. So I think, but if you're, under health stress and you don't have that alternate, it may put more stress on you just because, there's nobody depends on the issues. And I think to our body, there has been more than one recorded vote issue, but there's been a few that have shown up. Third part, I think from a public's perspective. So obviously it has changed from the Zoom part that if we can't physically be here as an individual, somebody can be physically here on Zoom. But if, from a public's perspective, there is actually somebody missing from that municipality and it becomes more than one meeting, there's a public perspective on who's representing that municipality? Who's representing, who put you there? So I think that is a, and I think I go back to, yes, Beeford and Southgate and even Blue Mountains have had circumstances where they have had other alternates for similar reasons or different reasons. And I remember the one individual was very sick and tried to be here, but couldn't be here. The alternate filled in and it worked very, very well. I think the compensation is I do respect Councillor Gregg for bringing this forward in the sense of looking at dollars being spent, but I think dollars being spent here is dollars well spent in the sense of representation. And I think in a sense of having that alternate here, and ultimately, if this passes, I guess it'll have to be up to the lower tier to determine that compensation. But if you want somebody here to be ready for a meeting, I think a compensation to what we pay is very small to have somebody, and we want people being here, being prepared for the meeting, whether it's ourselves or the alternate. So I think that's something to be considered as well. So thank you for listening to my comments.
Thank you, sir. Councillor Mackey.
Thanks, Mr. Warden. Good morning, County Council. Interesting discussion. I can't say that I disagree with anything that Councillor Gregg said. Other members have made some, very valid points, but as far as what the community expects, the community only voted for the mayor and deputy mayor, knowing that they would be representative on Grey County. And then it's up to the local county or local council to decide who the alternate is. The public didn't get any say in that whatsoever. I'm not sure that every member that attends here is fully versed and up to date. I know some are. That is a concern, as was mentioned by Councillor Gregg, that if a person's sitting here and has that authority to vote, we need to make sure that they are well versed. If there are municipalities that truly believe that they want that alternate representative, it's been made clear that that is their ability, but I think they should be paying that tab and not the county. So those are my thoughts.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments? I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That fails. Okay. Thank you very much. Good discussion. We have no delegations. Determination of items requiring separate discussion. Does anyone wish any of the consent items pulled for further direction? Councillor Body.
Thank you, Warden Milne. Could I have 6A, the correspondence from Georgian College pulled for further discussion? Thank you.
Absolutely. Anyone else? Okay, could I have a motion to receive for all the other items, save and except for 6A? Councillor Carl, please, and Councillor Patterson. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. Okay, we have items for direction and discussion. First one being results of collective bargaining between Grey Gables and Lee Manor and OPSU Local 299. Mover and seconder, please, for that item. Councillor Dickert and Councillor Pringle. Jen, you're going to be presenting the item. Welcome. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Warden. I'm in front of you to let you know that we have reached a tentative agreement with Opsu Manor and Grey Gables. They are in the process, our unionized partners, of voting on this tentative agreement from a period of it's about a week. It's the 24th to the 29th. So active voting is going on, and we have this agreement in front of you for your ratification of the results of our bargaining. The report is fairly simple. It lists the amount of money we're spending in each home in each year. Because our union partners are voting right now, the actual agreed to items will be presented and closed and then brought forward at a future meeting to have that publicly transparent. But for now, only financials are in front of you, and we'll deal with the rest in closed. But I am happy to say that we are below our upset limit, just a little bit below. And we had a very successful bargaining process with our union partners. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Jennifer is here as well. We're without our financial support, so hopefully you don't dig too deep into the numbers, but we're here to assist.
Thank you, Jen. Are there any questions on the report? We will go into closed session to discuss the actual agreement. Okay, not seeing any. I have a motion here. The Committee of the Whole does now go into closed session pursuant to section 239, subsection 2 of the Municipal Act 2001 is amended to discuss labor relations or employee negotiations, specifically collective bargaining at Grey Gables, Lee Manor, and OPSU Local 299. Someone care to move that, please? Councillor Nielsen and Councillor Mackey. All those in favor? That is carried. We will just, I don't know who